Project delivery is a new module in eTIP where quarterly status updates will be completed. Quarterly status updates are required for all projects that have been awarded STP, that's both local or shared fund, CMAQ, TAP-L, or CRP funding. Reporting periods for quarterly status updates are March, June, September, and December. Project delivery updates are required each quarter until the project is financially closed out. To receive project delivery access in eTIP, individuals must be formally designated as a technical project manager, financial project manager, or consultant project manager. Further guidance for requesting access to the eTIP database is on CMAP's TIP Programmer Resources webpage. Once you are here in the eTIP platform, to find a project, the user has a few different paths they can follow. The first is by selecting the project delivery heading under the projects dropdown in the top ribbon. Here at the top, you'll see that there's project delivery. The second is by searching for the TIP ID. Of course, you'll need to know it in this case in the search by ID. So here you could type in TIP ID and you'll be able to find your project, select it, and go to the project delivery page. The last way, or the third way, is by using the project delivery section header here on the home screen, which I'm going to go ahead and select the not started box. You can see that there's 70 not started. If I had started some, there may be some in draft, or if I submitted some, you'll see them in pending review. Once I select the not started, a list of projects will be generated in my assigned council that require project delivery updates. From here, I can further filter if I want, using any number of these filters to the left. In this case, I'm just going to filter by municipality and use the example that I may be North Riverside, and I want to see the projects that are required to complete status updates in North Riverside. So there's 3 of them, and I know I want to fill out this one, the Des Plaines Avenue from 26th Street to Cermak Road for 220045. I'm going to go ahead and select that project. When I open it, it'll bring me directly to the project delivery tab. And what I mean by tab is that within a project, there's an assortment of different project-related tabs, and the delivery one, where project status updates are completed, is the last one to the right in the project. The project delivery tab is comprised of milestones that are grouped together by phase. Each individual milestone includes 4 fields, the first being not applicable, original date, revised date, and completed date. Not applicable is a checkbox that should be selected when a milestone is not applicable. The original date is the initial estimate of when the milestone will be achieved. Revised date is an updated estimate of when the milestone will be achieved. And finally, the completed date is the date the milestone was completed on. So to begin a project update, you'll need to select Edit at the top of the page. If this is the first time completing a status update or the first status update record, the user will need to respond to each milestone with either an original estimated date, a completed date, or be marked as not applicable. And you'll notice, since this is the first update record in eTIP, the revised date column is locked with everything showing up as not as NA. The first step to complete the status update is to select the not applicable checkboxes for any phase that doesn't apply to the project. So one example of this is that if it's a roadway project, you can mark all the transit milestones is not applicable on the project. So you'll see here, I'm marking all the transit options is not applicable. I also know that there's no right of way on the project, so I'm going to mark all these is not applicable. I know there's not going to be a ribbon cutting event, groundbreaking event, so I'm going to mark these as NA as well. For phases that are already completed, the only completed date needed is the milestone that indicates phase completion. So in this example, let's say engineering 1 and engineering 2 are both completed. I'll go ahead and add the final project development report approved date and the design approved granted for engineering 1. And then for engineering 2, I'll add the final PS&E submitted. And then everything else can be marked is not applicable. So I'm going to mark these as all NA since this phase has already been completed. And I'll put a completion date in for the final PDR approved and design approval granted. We'll say that happened October 15, 2025. And then the same thing for phase 2. We just need the PS&E submitted date, which is right here. And maybe we'll say that happened January 15th, 2026. So now that brings us to construction. So these are all estimated dates here. So I'm gonna add it into the original column. So for this, I might say March 1st, 2026, and then maybe June 1, 2026. This here, it's to be completed by CMAP, so you can mark that as not applicable. Letting September 15th, 2026. Construction started. Construction completed. We'll say it takes 1 year. And then final invoice, we'll say March 1, 2027. So now that every milestone has been accounted for and responded to, either with a not applicable original date or a completed date, I can go ahead and save changes to the project. From here, I want to add any required attachments into the attachment section, which you can do by selecting Edit, dragging and dropping your files into this field at the bottom, selecting the date and the type of attachment that you're attaching, and then saving the changes. Finally, to submit your quarterly status update, you'll go back to the Delivery tab and click here at the top, Submit for review. And now when you go back to the home screen, you'll see that in the March reporting period, there's now 69 in not started and 1 in pending review for the councils that I have user access to. Now, what about projects that are continuing to submit status updates in eTIP, meaning this is not their first update they've submitted? They will retain information from past reporting periods, so all information needs to be reviewed and updated in those each reporting period. So for example, let's use 11/24/0007 as an example. And I'm going to do that by searching in the TIP with the TIP ID at the top. This is the Harvard Metro Station Access to Transit project. And because I'm searching for it using the search bar, it brings me directly to the Programming tab. I can navigate down to the Delivery tab And this is showing me all the responses from the last quarterly status update period. Now we want to edit the current period that is now March 26. So I'm going to click this link here and move to the March reporting period, and I'll then select edit. I'll review all original and revised dates to make sure those are still accurate. So you can see here, they're mostly in the construction phases. Maybe in this instance, IDOT got local agency agreements back way sooner than anticipated. So we might add in a completion date of February 5th, February 20th, 2026. And maybe the construction completed now is going to happen sooner than we anticipated. So we might change this to July 31, 2027 or 2026. So you can see any change you make, a yellow underline goes beneath that field showing what the change was from. Once I'm done reviewing all those dates and applying any changes, the same cadence happens where I save the project. Go over to the attachments section if there's any attachments that need to be added. And finally, submitting the project for review. If you run into any issues or have questions, please reach out to your designated planning liaison staff. Thanks.